distinguished colleagues, like my immediate predecessor, I'm also not going to make any PowerPoint presentation. And whether it is going to be a powerful presentation, it is for you to decide. My focus would be on one particular word that was used by organizers in this session, the aspirations of the students. How can our education institutions meet the aspirations of students? My mind goes back to Barack Obama's election speeches when he was seeking office for the second term to the Capitol Hill. In order to woo the Indian voters, his constant refrain was, be careful about two fellows in the world. And when I'm saying two fellows in the world, I'm not referring to Chinese. I'm referring to youngsters from two countries, South Korea and India. The younger generation from these two countries is not prepared to settle even for the second best. They want the first best. How can we provide the first best? When the whole world is looking to India, Alvin Toffler's Power Shift clearly says the emergence of a great knowledge society in 21st century in India will make India a power to be watched in 21st century. Because he says ultimately all distinctions would disappear, accepting that of male and female and knowledge haves and knowledge have-nots. Now, how do you cope with the expectations of student aspirations? I'm reminded of the opening sentence when you enter the hall of the International Labour Organization, which says, if you seek peace, cultivate justice. And injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. You are focusing on quality education. Equality is as important as quality, if not more important. You cannot afford to price out the vital sections of society because education has become now a tool of empowerment. And therefore, the hierarchical nature in education negates the idea of equality. We should focus upon that. And digital learning should try to bridge the digital divide, but should not create the hiatus. Now, what is the state? I represent an institution which has now become a byword for excellence in legal education. National Law School of India, University, Bangalore, which was established in 1988, when people used to think that youngsters in India, if they have nothing else to do, they would join law colleges. Because in 1970s and 1980s, the popular saying was that law colleges provide the parking spaces for the vehicles which cannot be parked elsewhere. And pursuing legal education was a national hobby or a pastime. And India perhaps was producing brilliant lawyers in spite of law colleges and not because of law colleges. Then came this experiment called National Law School of India University. Today it is 25 years young. Believe me, ladies and gentlemen, this is one of the best examples of public-private partnership with focus on equality, with focus on autonomy. And this National Law School of India, University, Bangalore, today is a force to be reckoned with in the map of the legal education of the world. Twice in the history of 25 years, we defeated all top QS ranked 200 universities to win a very prestigious event called Jesup Moot Court event. Now that had been possible because of our emphasis both on quality and equality. There is no dearth of funds, let me tell you. The moment you prove to the world that excellence is a byword, money flows. In National Law School of India University, our avowed objective is no student will be denied admission if he has merit just for want of rupee considerations. All students who cannot afford to pay the fees of our institution, their education is subsidized by various governmental agencies. We have initiated a process about 20 years ago of convincing the different government departments, and having realized that today the young mind is treated with respect and National Law School of India University has started producing brilliant lawyers. Every student who needs subsidy, that means it is need-based, it is provided to us. Functional autonomy is given to us. Therefore, my point here is the objective should not be maximization of prestige of the institution or maximization of profits, but maximization of social benefits. And this can be done by impressing upon the powers that be. It is difficult, but it's not impossible. That had been our experience. And that is how you can meet the aspirations of the students and make education as inclusive as possible to prevent our population dividend from becoming a population nightmare. 21st century, next 2 decades are going to be very crucial, where if the main tool of empowerment called education is denied and the aspirations of the youngsters are not fulfilled, there could be many more contraindications creating in corridors of different colors all over the country. Therefore, aspirations of the youngsters have to be met by initiating a happy dialogue. Privatization in education is a reality which cannot be ignored. At the same time, the state cannot play a minimal role. It has got to play an optimal role. And both public and private should work in tandem. And one of the best examples is National Law School of India University. That is how we can meet the aspirations of the students. But my fervent appeal is that no person should be denied access to institutions of excellence. Because a number of sociologists have pointed out, in India the poor are poor not because they have lack of money, but because they have lack of access to resources and institutions. So that access has to be provided by us, and conferences like this should deliberate to think as to how wherewithal should be provided to make education as inclusive as possible.